Thanks, Kevin. It's my pleasure to be able to speak about data-driven exploration of the R Community Dashboard. This was a Google Summer of Code 2019 project I was involved with. I was a mentor, and I will often be praising the mentee, Binaya Uba. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I'll be pointing at the camera. I'm hoping that he watches this. He has been a real pleasure to work with and has worked extremely hard on this project. And I will talk a lot about that. So first, if you haven't looked at the link that I provided, this is one of the screens that you will see if you look at what we developed. This is a dashboard, one of the dashboards that we have depicting, as Kevin mentioned, our community as represented through meetup.com. So we are downloading data daily through the meetup.com API and collecting a wide variety of information. If you haven't looked at the link yet, please do. There are multiple pages, multiple sections as you scroll down. There are a lot of data that we hope others will analyze and help to build a story about what's happening in the R community, and perhaps you could adapt this for other groups and purposes as well. I'll also mention that this project goes beyond R. It features JavaScript, HTML, data formats include CSVs, JSON, GeoJSON. There's another language I meant to communicate. So quite a bit involved here. So as you can see on this page, there are over 650,000 members in meetups worldwide that we have found, and we continue to find new meetup groups, so that number will rise, 880 groups. So, you know, sometimes you read talk about how isolated we are, but I think this communicates there's a strong demand around the world to connect with others, and it will be interesting to see what happens in that space as we continue to use technology to meet and converse. There's a high density in the United States and Europe. You see that even better with R ladies. One of the screens is focused on R ladies. There's a surprising lack in Africa, I think. Ben is from Nigeria, and he might have been delighted to see that in August of this year, near the end of the project, there was a group, an R ladies group started in Lagos, Nigeria. I wonder if they were inspired by Ben or worked with him to develop that group. I haven't asked yet. You can see that there are a number of tooltips provided when you hover over points on the dashboard, last event date, members. So it's great. And we also have unbegun groups. So these are groups that have been, that have performed some of the requirements but haven't actually had an event yet. The last section is the R Google Summer of Code section. This is unique. It has different subsections. You can see that this group has been quite active, especially in the last few years. They've been doing Summer of Code projects for 12 years. Not only does the R, I forgot the name of the organization, I think the R Foundation get, you may know, not only do mentees get funding, but the R Foundation does as well. So this is a great project by Google. I haven't yet researched what sort of Google gets out of it, right, besides the publicity that the groups themselves present or make public, as well as what Google does. But this is a great project, and I like that Ben included how much has been raised for the R project. That's what I was trying to think of. Over $100,000 has been raised for the R project. So it's cool. This is that R Google Summer of Code section. We have a bar chart for the continents, pardon me. You can see Africa is conspicuously low. Top groups, Toronto was a top group. I thought that was interesting. Over 11,000 members. Of course, some cities have multiple groups, so that could be a more complicated story that others could analyze. This shows a line chart. You can see that over the years, our user groups have been growing, and that has not detectably decreased. USA and India and the UK are top nations, and you can zoom in. So this is, I'll be honest with you, I am not going to get into details of some of Ben's clever programming and use of a variety of JavaScript libraries, but he has these sliders that you can use for some screens, and so you can actually, this is on the left where we're looking at our user groups, you can use the slider to zoom in, and we see that in the last couple of years our user group activity has not, at least the creation of groups has not decreased. So talk of, you may have seen, have you seen talk of R maybe losing ground or not being so, well, at least based on our user groups, it looks like they are still, R is still a popular language. I'll just ask, there aren't too many people in the room, but how many of you use R at least sometimes? Yeah, so just about everyone in the room for those of you watching. Not for a while. Mark, you're a Julia fan, right? Yeah, yeah. I would be interested in talking about Julia versus R, by the way.
Or Python versus R.
Or, well, that too. What were you saying?
It's slightly more affordable than SAS.
Yes, R is open source, in case you did not know. So it's
Blessed by the FDA. That's
say that again?
It is blessed by the FDA.
I've recently read that. Yeah, so I used to work in the pharmaceutical industry as a statistical programmer, and we only used SAS. And I did recently read about, is it not a recent use?
6 years?
Yeah, it's been a little while.
Okay.
They allow it full time now, which is nice if you're in the clinical world.
Yeah, so if you can't hear the discussion, apparently for 6 years, the pharmaceutical world has been able to use R. The FDA has decided to admit it as a useful language, give its blessing, right? So it's sufficiently validated. So we talked about the temporal zooming. We have so many sections: continents, top countries, countries and top cities. The top city is London with over 42,000 users. Now this is meant, I'm looking to see if anyone's upset. This is for negative arousal. I don't know if anyone, okay, there we go. Kevin is upset. Some of you may know that pie charts are hated by some, but we purposefully created this for negative arousal. It's just to wake you up a little bit. I'm just kidding. So, yeah, we have a pie chart. Don't get mad. Too late.
He's triggered.
We have our user groups per country depicted as a bar chart. In Germany, I want you to notice number 2, second, it's second positionally on the left. The United States is that big peak on the far left. But focusing on Germany, you'll see that when you use the sliders to zoom in, it's not perfect yet. And if there's enough interest, then we could look at perfecting this. Germany suddenly disappears when you zoom in because it actually exceeds the maximum for this chart, which is 20, I think. Yeah, 20 groups. And suddenly Mexico looks like number 1. So there are imperfections and therefore opportunities for you to contribute to this project if you would like. It is all on GitHub, open source, beautiful. You can search the user groups. You can download the data as a CSV. That was a late addition that Ben did. So there are many analytical opportunities, and I like that he included links at the bottom so you can join or start a group. This is from a few slides ago, just zooming in, and I really talked about this enough, but I did want to just mention that a number of mentees ultimately become mentors, and you do have quite a few people that have returned for another project. So it's good. We have a word cloud. Not too many surprises here. Package and data are conspicuous for those of you that are not programmers that use packages. A package is just a small piece of software that you can add to your instance or your installation of R or Python or whatever. So yes, we are looking at many packages that have been augmented or in one case at least created in R. In the Summer of Code project. We have a word count. And so pretty easy to understand. I just want to say this real quick. Has anyone seen this data visualization? So at the very least, the data visualizations that we have are pretty easy to interpret. I'll show that one more time and see if anyone gets upset.
It's a good data visualization.
You like it?
Yeah.
So there is a controversy. If you look at this up on Twitter, there is some controversy about that data visualization. No, I'm not speaking negatively about the developer. Instead, I just think it's interesting that some are really interested right now in data visualizations. And yes, initially I did have trouble processing it, but many others do not. Our data visualizations so far are simple. Mark, what was your question?
What is GSoC from the previous slide?
Google Summer of Code.
Okay.
You can look up that same hashtag, so GSoC 2019 to see some information about this year's. I just wanted to highlight Toby Hocking and Brian Peterson. This is my way of saying thank you if you ever see this. They have been leaders in the R Google Summer of Code work for some time. And you can look at past projects. This page is easily found. So we focus on R ladies. A little controversial slide, but if you look at some of the top mentors, some of the top mentors, there is only one name that is clearly to my eyes female. So just saying that there's a need, right? There's a need. So we have the R Ladies focus. R Ladies has been a very energizing part of the R community. I do not know if something like this exists in Python or other languages, but we have Our Ladies has over 14,000 Twitter followers. Dr. Vitolo, Dr. Claudia Vitolo, this is my first time mentioning her name, sorry. She was the other mentor for this project. And on one of our pages, on the Our Ladies page, we do show some of the top contributors, including the leadership team. And she is a co-founder of Our Ladies Global. I also think this is an opportunity to mention individuals like Kevin and how we could do more perhaps to celebrate those that have been so influential in creating the groups that we enjoy. I have talked with a few individuals about how it's often a thankless job, so thank you, Kevin, for what you do. And that's one of the reasons why we have this page. It's our way of celebrating those that work so hard behind the scenes. Dr. Vitolo is a weather data expert, and this is a recent tweet about her activity. She coordinated this medium range weather event. I do not know what medium range is, but I did appreciate that she is leading efforts to improve reproducibility, which you may know is a hot topic right now in science. So we have a local group here, Our Ladies RTP, and Sheila Saya, I thought based on the meetup registrations that some of the members of the Our Ladies RTP group might be here, some of you might be, but I just wanted to say thank you to her for emailing about this event, and she is one of the top organizers in the Our Ladies community. So these are some of the past R projects, if you want to look at this, and I'll have a link in the notes so that you can easily find these and others. These are keywords that appear in the word cloud: biodiversity, models, and interactive. This ANIM-INT package, I did not have time to look into it, but that package was begun in, let me look at my notes, 2013 by Susan Vanderplas, and there have been a number of Google Summer of Code projects adding to it, so that's a valuable package. So if you get approached about being a mentor in Google Summer of Code, you may think, wow, do I really want to do this? How much work is it? And I want to say that in this case, it was not difficult for me and Dr. Vitolo. Ben did an enormous amount of work, and in fact, he was the one that found the mentors. What Google does is allow prospective mentors to write up proposals, and then they go and look for mentees. That's generally how this works. But instead, what Ben did was come up with the idea and then talk to the I believe it's consortium, and figure out some of the basic elements that would be needed so that he could then confidently approach prospective mentors like myself. He first approached me in 2018, and he approached me on the same day as the deadline, so I couldn't. It was too late by the time I responded to him. So fortunately, he reached back out this year. Aaron Liddell, and Our Ladies leader who helped to develop the meetupr package, that's a very important part of our work for this project, suggested that Ben reach out to me, and that's how he found me. I don't think I have that tweet, but I have a number of tweets that I have done about my use of the Our Ladies meetupr package, which uses the Meetup API to download data into R. So, no, I don't. So that's how he found me, and Dr. Vitolo is one of the Our Ladies leaders, and I think she volunteered when someone reached out to her about possibly helping Ben. So one of the concerns that was expressed by those that reviewed Ben's project was how much code would there be? Would there be enough code? It is Google Summer of Code, so that's a big part, obviously. And I'm happy to say that we successfully defended and Ben justified our defense of the project. There was a lot of code. I mentioned JavaScript, or a number of languages. You'll see inside folders you may not expect you will find code, like this docs subfolder. And then the docs subfolder is using this Bootstrap framework, which helps to create the data visualization in a web-friendly, actually web-based way. I am not an expert yet, but if you're interested in more discussion of Bootstrap, please let me know, and I certainly have a great resource. So it's time to play a little game. It's late. We need some excitement. Can anyone name the JavaScript library that is used to create these maps? I hope not. Maybe. That is not the one I was thinking of. The only one I know starts with an L. Leaflet. Yeah, there was nods. For those of you watching, there were nods in the room. Leaflet. And you can see that at the bottom right. using OpenStreetMap. Code galore. There's a leaflet over and over. That's actually from an HTML. Oh, there was something else I wanted to show here. I thought. No. Okay. Sorry. Oh, there's a JavaScript reference. There we go. And we have some GeoJSON. So this is another an element of which I was not very knowledgeable before I began this work was the Travis continuous integration service that GitHub has. This is a free service that allows for continuous integration. So most of the time, the way this would work, I guess, is that others' work would be continuously integrated into the main repo. And in this case, what we're doing is on a daily basis, that repo is being updated. And not only is it being, so it's being updated, and that includes, as an antecedent, the download of data through the Meetup API and all the updating. So every day you will see that, as I show here, Ben Ubad's name appears. Every day there's a new push to the repo, and there's an update. So to talk a little bit about that use of Travis continuous integration, Ben made this easy for me. He wrote an email Saturday helping me understand what he had done. So let me be honest about that. And then I created this diagram. I think it's called a UML, but I'll put that in the notes. If anyone wants to create a diagram like this, you can do so in R now. And there's also a website that makes this pretty easy. And this is all code-based. I regret that I do not have the code here, but this is all code-based. So there's a, let me, 1 second, please. I just forgot my plan. Yes, okay. So I'm going to show some of the code later, but Travis.yml is what gets looked at first by Travis CI, and in that code, he has an after success function that reaches out to call, to execute deploy.sh, and so setup git loads the, processes the R scripts, which updates all the data. Then we have the add and commit, and ultimately a push out to the repo. Seamless, it's never failed as far as I know. And so that's where you will find this code. It's in the root of the R Community Explorer repo. And there is that after success function I mentioned and the call to deploy.sh. That's the scripting language I forgot. There's some bash scripting here.
It's a YAML file, right?
Yep.
I'm glad you know. And there's one of the R scripts that gets used. Ben had to modify some of the code in the Our Ladies Meetup R package because I forgot why, but it was not what he needed it to be yet. He has offered a push to the main repo that hasn't been merged yet. So that's actually modified code, maybe not this section in particular, but below is modified code from the Meetup R API, the Meetup R package, which he found through GitHub. A challenge in finding these groups obviously was the groups have different names, except for the Our Ladies group. Our Ladies Global has a standard naming system, so R-Ladies will appear in all of their group names. Other groups are complicated, and I haven't talked with Kevin about this yet or Ben, but maybe this group should be part of this page. And this group is the Triangle SQL Server user group. So finding names is difficult, and new groups continue to reach out and ask for addition to our project. So I just saw the use of a regular expression here to identify groups. And as we all discover regularly, there are data issues that complicate things. San Juan was associated with the, I think, United States. No. I can't remember. A country that was incorrect, and so we had to hard code Puerto Rico as a country assignment. I think I talked enough about this, so you can look at that if you want to. That's a reminder of the diagram. So, like I said, Ben made this easy. He was a very well-prepared mentee. And so if you reach out as a mentee, or if someone reaches out to you as a prospective mentor, you might go ahead and communicate what would make the work easy for you so that you can help more when you have the bandwidth to do so. These are some of the considerations that the R group considers. And so I already talked about defending the project. It wasn't an aggressive defense, but we did have to do a little defense of funding of the project. And before I knew it, we had an email. I had an email that indicated I was a mentor. And I'll be honest with you, at that point, I was not sure what that meant. I had only skimmed the mentor manual, but it was confirmed. And the mentee, Ben Uba, fortunately reached out to me, and he had a plan for communication, or he offered a plan, and we thought it was great. So we did not have to communicate very often. There ended up being a fair number of emails, but as far as the frequency across all the weeks, there wasn't a lot of communication. He did a vast majority of this work independently, and we offered thoughts here and there. What I remember helping with more than anything was with the writing. So on the Meetup page, I mentioned the articles that we've had published, and it just happened to be that we worked well as a team reviewing and revising documents that we submitted for publication. Okay. So like I mentioned, there were some updates that had to be made to the meetupr package. That slide is there, and you can look at this if you're interested in those updates. He hasn't put forget it. The updates have not yet been added to the main repo. Okay, sorry, my slides are jumping around here. Okay, so we worked and worked and worked, and we had our first publication. Our consortium published this page about our project. This one did not have any screenshots, I think, or maybe just one. So it talked about our proposal and some of the work we had done, and the next one showed more screenshots to generate some interest. And then the third publication just dug more into the data, and hopefully what we have created are springboards for more analyses. So we talked about the naming challenges. I think I talked about that enough. Oh, that's it. So these are some, wow, that went by faster than I thought. So these are some of the individuals, obviously, that were involved in this work. Ben has his own, he operates under a pseudonym as R Central on Twitter if you want to find him. You can also find him on LinkedIn. His first name's, I think it's CHIBUOKHEM. I will ask him if he wants that published. I'll just say that. But he only has 6 LinkedIn connections right now, and that saddens me. So I would love to see him get more of a following, at least of this Twitter handle, which is R Central with 2 R's and 2 L's at the end. He's doing a lot. At the bottom left, I just discovered this during the weekend. So on his R Central webpage, he is aggregating sources. What is that called? XML is what I'm seeing. But anyway, he's what's that?
RSS feeds.
Yes, thank you. RSS feeds. So he is presumably using RSS feeds to aggregate a lot of information. You can't read that, but you can check that out if you are interested. And that's it. I went through that faster than I thought. I apparently am a fast talker. But are there any questions or comments? Yes, Mark.
Okay. Is there a plan, and might I suggest it if it isn't, to have this is primarily an R group versus, or distinguished from, this is a data group that might do some R. So like the PyData triangle does, and open source Jupyter Notebook, Python, R, Julia, etc. It's not an R-centric group, but it does include R presentation. So might I suggest, or for your consideration, a second tier of our meetup group?
It's a good idea. I have not considered that. So yeah, that's a good idea.
A second question, if I may.
Please.
What do you think the future of Meetup is regarding the WeWork fiasco?
The WeWork going out of business sale.
Oh, Kevin said the WeWork going out of business. Okay.
Yeah.
Fiasco.
Well, they haven't gone out of business yet, but don't worry, they're trying.
They just got bought or funded.
They got a lot of money from the initial Japanese funders who dumped a huge amount of cash into them. My hope is Meetup gets sold to a company that knows how to run it.
I've heard some troubling things about what Meetup might do in the short term that may hurt us as groups.
Tell us more about this, Rick.
I'm
Like
interested.
charging people to RSVP?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so what's happening since I got the emails? There was an email that went out. Yeah, I know. It's my hope.
Where's the popcorn?
Yeah, seriously.
Am I still on camera?
Rick is on camera, thankfully. So I'm going to rant while Rick hides behind the table and tries to deny any knowledge of this. Here, let's switch to the screen. There, it's a happy chart while I complain. So, Meetup sends out an email saying, oh, well, the first one was from the president. It's like, we appreciate all of the groups that we have. Everything's so great. And then a few days later, another email comes out and says, okay, we're going to start charging. And it's something like, in lieu of the organization paying, you can just have your attendees pay $2 every meetup.
Whoa.
Yeah, $2 per attendee per meetup. And reading that, I said, no. The exceptions are if you're part of a professional organization, where the professional organization pays for Meetup Pro, or if you are a nonprofit, then you can get around those rules. In the meantime, the 6-month subscription price for Meetup has gone up, so we're paying another $10 a month, or $10 every 6 months. Yeah. An additional $10 every 6 months on top of what we've already been paying.
I'm just so happy our group became a non-profit.
Yeah, we're TriPass is there as well. So.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yep.
I mean, LinkedIn would probably want to get into that space, right? Maybe buy them. Because they have LinkedIn groups, right? I don't know.
Hey, I'm all for somebody knowing what they're doing buying Meetup, because the guy running WeWork doesn't know what he's doing.
Or big Google, or a lot of meetup groups have gone to Facebook as a way of membership and calendaring. You have Facebook
Right.
groups.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, or Eventbrite.
Well, it's not free.
So the upside to Eventbrite is it's not Facebook. Also, it's one upside. There's more. But the downside is that you lose all that community aspect, because you can't tie together, this is a group and the group regularly meets. Instead, it's here's an event, here's an event, here's an event. So you have to know about the event.
I would be okay with paying $2 an event. That doesn't.
Well, it's $2 per person.
I mean, per person.
event.
I mean, that.
So I mean, think about
think about somebody
How do you collect-
who might be a member of 76 meetups.
yeah, or you go to
like Mark, for those of you that do not know, Mark Hutchinson.
That's not my budget.
That's a good
Yep.
point. That's a good point.
and it's not $2 like per group. It's $2 every time you show up. So the other alternative is you continue using Meetup, and nobody RSVPs, and they just show up. So, hey, don't RSVP. We're going to close the announcements, or say that you're coming in the comments, and like find ways around paying $2 per event. It's just really poorly done on their part.
Yeah.
And I'm angry about it because Meetup is such a useful tool.
It's another insult to the leaders. I was looking for this page. The leaders who do so much behind the scenes. I imagine is there a community, Kevin, a community of leaders of Meetup groups that are discussing this change?
Probably not.
Huh.
I'm going to go with a no on that one.
It's rather recent.
Yeah.
I do have another question. Mara, was she involved? I didn't see her name here, but she's one of the leading our proponents, and we had her here this spring. No, last spring.
I
For
wonder.
Analytics Forward, our keynote.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mark Hutchinson is referring to Analytics Forward, the most well-attended Research Triangle Analysts event. And I'm looking on this page. No, I guess not. So Mara Averick does not appear on this page, at least yet. And no, she has not yet been involved.
'Cause she's with the R organization.
Yeah, and our
Foundation.
studio in particular. Is she?
Our foundation.
Okay. I know she's an employee of our studio now. Good question. Anything else? Well, thank you for your time.